Most of us grew up in some kind of religion, or at the very least, we grew up in a religious society. And although we grew up in a religious society, not very many of us grew up in a spiritual society. And that means that we are less influenced for our spiritual development, and we kind of have to go at it on our own. Hello, my name is Sarah, and on this channel we talk about self-development and learning to live life with intention. Today is part 5 of my 5-part series, the Development series, and we are finishing off with spiritual development. Today we're going to start with the difference between faith, religion, and spirituality. I'm going to share a couple personal examples as someone who grew up in a church that was so strict and religious that it got kicked out of Holland, and then we're going to finish off with a few key steps for spiritual development. If you are ready, let's get started. Faith is the complete trust and confidence in someone or something. Religion is the belief and worship in a superhuman, controlling power, especially God or gods. Finally, spirituality is relating to religion or religious beliefs. It can also mean relating to the human spirit or soul. And a third description is to seek a meaningful connection with something bigger than yourself. So not everybody has religion or faith or spirituality to begin with. But I do think that it's a journey that everyone takes, whether they were raised in it or they find it or they learn about it. As I mentioned, I was raised in a very, very strict church that was actually kicked out of Holland because it was so religious that they were like, you're not even following the Bible anymore. This is all about control. It's called the Dutch Reformed Church, and that is what I spent my whole life in. My parents chose that church for their own reasons, and my family is definitely more open-minded now than what it was when we were going to this church. I have a friend who grew up in not so much the Dutch Reformed Church, but a very strict household in a different sect of the religion. And her and I were raised very similarly in the sense that we were both raised very strict, and we were told to follow a lot of these rules simply because of the religion. There wasn't a lot of logic behind it, and a lot of our questions weren't necessarily answered. As women as well, the religion took a lot of our freedoms away and a lot of our rights even to think for ourselves. For my friend, she left her religion, worked a bit on her spirituality, and that actually pushed her back into her faith, to the roots of what she grew up with. And then that further encouraged her to go back into her religion, but with a much better mindset and heart and boundaries, which is huge and necessary. So she is so happy where she's at now, practicing her religion, but with a bigger understanding because the questions she had were answered. But it took her from leaving the religion, discovering spirituality, rediscovering faith, and then going into religion. For myself, I left religion. I was like, absolutely not. This is full of rules. I don't do rules well. I don't like this. And then I just kind of ignored it all. I said no to spirituality, kind of had a bit of faith, but kind of just because I was like, I don't know, I could be wrong. Who knows? My key was starting to understand energy, mostly when I started massage. I was not interested in energy work at all, and I still don't really know where I stand on that. But I can't deny certain things that happen when I'm working on people or different situations that I can get into in another video. By understanding energy, it pushed me towards spirituality, and it helped me further my own faith in what I did know. Remember, faith is trust and confidence in something or someone. And I was beginning to have faith in myself, but I was also having the spirituality of understanding that there was something bigger than me, and I didn't need religion to connect for those. So part of my spiritual development was getting rid of the religion, whereas for my friend's spiritual development, it was embracing the religion. I hope you can see that there's very different journeys. There's no such thing as a right one or a wrong one until, of course, we get into extremism. Every single thing has extremists, and none of them are okay. You've got extreme vegans, you've got religious extremists, you have music extremists, like gatekeepers of all shapes and sizes. As I promised, I'm going to share 3 of my favorite key steps to recognizing and growing your spiritual journey. I found these on a list while I was doing some research for this video, and they all struck a chord with me, but I'll include the link down below if you would like to see a full list of all 10. So the first key to spiritual development, and a first sign that you were on your journey to a spiritual awakening, if you will, is to observe your patterns. If you've noticed, most of us tend to go through life on autopilot. We get ourselves to work, we wake up at the same time, we live in routine, and we don't really think about the fact that everything around us, and ourselves included, have a greater purpose. I've always felt that there's a reason behind every single thing we do, and the timing we do it in. Honestly, the way I've met some of my friends have been seemingly random, or the way I've come into amazing opportunities have just felt like huge coincidences, but too much has connected to make it feel like it's a coincidence. Our choices and patterns are typically pushed on by habits and, like I said, autopilot. It's just things we typically do and we don't put much thought into them. So observing your patterns is the first step to realizing that there's more going on and more decisions being made than just your own. Number 2, letting go of the attachments. A lot of times we want to label ourselves. We want to feel like we are connected to something, whether I'm a farm girl or I'm a city girl. I'm the kind of person that drives this specific vehicle, or I'm the kind of person that wears these clothes. But when we understand that our value and our worth are not related to the numbers on our screen or the number of friends we have or what we were born into in our life, that does not determine our value and our worth. And when we understand that, we can let go of the attachments. When we lock ourselves onto one label or lock ourselves into one idea of life, we are limiting ourselves spiritually because we're not letting ourselves actually be open to the idea that there might be something bigger out there. We're quite content in our little bubble. There's a secret though. I've learned that you can be in a little bubble and you can have a very simple life and still feel incredibly spiritually free. The third key to spiritual development and finding out that you are actually growing in this is increased authenticity. When we go through a spiritual development or a spiritual awakening, our confidence grows and we get this deep sense of self-worth. When we no longer care about labels and we know that our value is not based on material or physical things, we become so free to be our truest self, to live authentically. So by opening yourself up to a spiritual development or a spiritual awakening, you actually will become more authentic and you will become more attractive to so many people, whether they like the way you speak, the way you talk about your stories, or just how you carry yourself, because you don't care about the labels and about everything else. Living authentically is one of the greatest parts and signs of spiritual development. So lastly, how many times do you have to go through a spiritual awakening? I don't know. I have gone through so many in my life. When I was a kid, they were very religion-based. And most of the time, I felt like I was being spiritual and doing the right things, but I was still tying myself to a label. I did those things because I wanted to be the good girl, or I wanted to follow and be accepted by my peers. And then again, when I was traveling on my own, I had another spiritual development block where I realized I'm alone in this world and yet I feel so connected to something much bigger because I can't look at these beautiful things all over the world and not feel like there's something bigger. So then that was a spiritual connection to something greater than myself. As I've gotten older and as I've let my ego drop and as I've learned to live more and more towards myself, I go through more and more spiritual development. And I suppose in some communities, they would say that the peak of these spiritual developments or spiritual awakenings would be enlightenment. And maybe that's the case. I'll let you know when I get there. One thing I've picked up over the years is that every time I listen to my instincts, I listen to my heart, and I follow through with the spiritual development part, drop whatever it is I need to drop, I start living more authentically. I feel freer, I feel like I'm more in tune with myself, and I'm not afraid to question things as much because my ego is much less of an issue. Not saying it doesn't rise up, because it does. I got an ego. We all do. And as I mentioned before, it's not necessarily a good or bad thing, it's there to protect us. So this is why I've included spirituality in the self-development realm, because I really think that when you open yourself up to whatever spirituality means to you and whatever level you're comfortable with, and the entire reason of why I would be interested in self-development is to become the truest version of myself that I possibly can. If you disagree or you have a different opinion on that, please let me know. I would love to hear. And that's the beauty of it. It's different for everybody. If you liked this video today, please give it a thumbs up, and if you want to support the channel, go ahead and subscribe, click the notification bell so you get an email every time I upload, and go ahead and leave me a comment down below. Feel free to share it with your friends if you liked it and you think that somebody else might enjoy it as well. If you're still watching, thank you, huge thank you. I don't usually do this, but I do want to give a quick promo to a favorite artist of mine, my sister, Elena. She released a new single 5 days ago on January 29th, and it's called Build a Ship. If you've never checked the description box down below, today's the day. There's all of her links, they're always down there, but they're all down there today as well. This is some new stuff from her. I'm very excited for it to be released to the general public. I've gotten some sneak peeks of it, and let me just tell you, there is more to come, and it is all like leveling up every single time. So if you like pop music, go check her out. Let her know I sent you. Add the single to your playlist, send it to your friends, share with your family, call your radio station. I don't know if you can do that, but if you can, try. I'm very excited. I feel like big things are gonna happen for her this year. So anyway, with all of that said, when you improve yourself, you improve the world. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!